When Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett calmly slid a manila folder across the table toward Ivanka Trump on live television, no one expected the contents inside to ignite one of the year's most talked about political moments. The first thing anyone noticed that evening wasn't the lights, the cameras, or the carefully arranged panel of guests. It was the tension, dense, silent, and vibrating through the studio like electricity. The kind you feel in your chest even when you can't explain why. Tuesday night, 8:05 p.m. inside Studio 4 at WCN headquarters in Dallas, Texas. Prime time millions tuned in. The camera captured the table precisely. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett on the left, Ivanka Trump on the right, and longtime host Colin Brandt centered. The topic, political families and ethics in U.S. government. Colin leaned in with a courteous smile that didn't dull the edge of his opening question. Ladies, let's start with something simple. Do family connections in politics help or harm? Jasmine held his gaze. Hands folded. When public service becomes a family venture, there's always a danger that people stop questioning whether the work is done competently and begin assuming the position is inherited. Ivanka's smile was restrained but assertive. I believe experience in business or politics carries weight. Families who have served for generations bring insight, connections, and the ability to achieve results. From the beginning, it was evident they were not there to agree, yet the tone remained civil, the type of respectful discussion viewers expect. No one, except possibly Jasmine, anticipated that by hour's end, this segment would be replayed millions of times online. Colin steered the conversation along. Taxes, transparency, influence, standard topics. Both women had notable moments. Jasmine delivered sharp points that drew quiet nods from the audience. Ivanka countered with polished recollections of her White House tenure. Applause was balanced, neither side dominating. Then, about 20 minutes in, Colin asked a question that altered the room's energy. Congresswoman Crockett, you've frequently addressed transparency in leadership. Do you feel all public figures are honest with the American people? A brief pause had viewers leaning forward. Jasmine didn't look at Colin. She turned to Ivanka. Not all of them, she said. And some have more to hide than they let the public know. Ivanka lifted an eyebrow, her smile faint. Is that directed at me? Your family's record speaks for itself, Jasmine answered. But there are matters the public has not seen. Matters that cross a line most Americans would reject. For the first time, the audience murmured softly, uncertain, intrigue. Colin straightened. Congresswoman, are you implying you have proof of wrongdoing? Jasmine's reply was composed. Yes, and I'm ready to present it tonight. The atmosphere shifted immediately. Viewers at home likely leaned in closer. Ivanka's smile vanished, replaced by irritation. That's ridiculous, she said sharply. If this is a stunt, I will not acknowledge it. This is not a stunt, Jasmine responded, sliding a manila folder from beneath the table and setting it before her. These are communications and statements from individuals who collaborated closely with the Trump organization. They depict a very different account of your relationship with your father than what has been shared publicly. Ivanka leaned forward. That's outrageous. Spreading offensive lies won't make you significant. This is politics at its most intense. The studio went completely quiet. Even Colin seemed uncertain about whether to intervene. The folder rested between the two women like a live wire, capable of pushing the conversation into risky territory. Jasmine remained composed. You can interpret it however you wish, but Americans deserve transparency when a leader's judgment might be compromised. Personal connections matter when they influence decisions at the highest level. A flicker crossed Ivanka's face. Irritation or perhaps concern. She glanced at the cameras, knowing she couldn't control what happened next. Colin cleared his throat, a hint of tension in his voice. Let's take a moment. We need to handle this carefully. These are serious claims, and our viewers deserve clarity. I agree, Jasmine said, which is why I am ready to examine these documents in detail. Ivanka shook her head, though her voice betrayed a slight tremor. This is beneath both of us, Congresswoman. But no one cared about propriety anymore. All focus was on the folder and how far Jasmine was prepared to go. Colin leaned back, observing them like a strategist reviewing a high-stakes match. He attempted to steer the mood back. Before the specifics, let's continue the broader conversation. The audience expects fairness. Ivanka seized the moment, her tone gentler. My family has been in the spotlight for decades. We've faced every rumor and political attack imaginable, yet I remain dedicated to meaningful work. She looked toward the audience, letting the statement settle. Jasmine paused, then responded evenly. Dedication does not eliminate accountability, Miss Trump. Public service requires both. For a brief moment, the tension eased. Colin inquired about foreign investments and whether political families could avoid external influence. Both women answered professionally, even sharing a polite laugh at a remark about family dinners turning into cabinet meetings. The audience smiled, but the earlier heaviness lingered. The folder remained untouched. Ivanka leaned slightly toward Jasmine, smiling tightly, her voice low but caught by microphones. You think you're making a point, but you're risking something bigger than you understand. Jasmine didn't flinch. The truth is not a risk. Meanwhile, Colin continued, Congresswoman Crockett, you frequently address systemic challenges in politics. Which reforms do you prioritize? Transparency, campaign finance reform, and ending nepotism, Jasmine answered. Political roles should be earned, not inherited. Ivanka responded sharply. That's ironic coming from someone who's never had to run a global business publicly. Criticism is easy when you've never built anything. My career wasn't handed to me, Jasmine said calmly. There's value in understanding what it means to start with nothing and earn your place every day. The audience murmured, not applause, but attentive. All right, Colin said, let's return to the folder. Congresswoman, are you asserting you have information the public hasn't seen? Yes. Ivanka gripped her chair. Then show it. I am not afraid of selective material. Patience, Jasmine said. Context is essential. Without it, people assume gossip. This isn't gossip. It concerns whether powerful figures use influence for themselves rather than the nation. Colin nodded. Then provide the background. Jasmine outlined patterns she observed in Congress. Choices benefiting private interests. Moments where family loyalty seemed to outweigh duty to the public. Her voice remained steady. Ivanka leaned back, arms crossed. You make it sound like a conspiracy. People are exhausted by this negativity undermining the country. I am not here to destroy you, Jasmine replied. I am here to hold the same standards every public servant must meet. If nothing is wrong, the evidence will show it. If not, the public deserves transparency. The room felt tighter, heavier. The audience shifted, bracing. Jasmine touched the folder but did not open it. I've provided the context. Now comes the content. But once opened, there is no turning back. Ivanka narrowed her eyes. Do what you feel is necessary. The words hit like a challenge. Jasmine waited just long enough for the cameras to focus. She was not there for theatrics. She wanted to make a point. The first step was showing Ivanka she was serious. I'll begin with something small, Jasmine said. Consider it context for what's inside. Go ahead, Colin said. Jasmine faced Ivanka. In 2018, during the White House years, multiple staffers reported blurred lines between personal and professional matters, not speculation, first-hand accounts from individuals present who witnessed decisions influenced by loyalty to family rather than country. Ivanka's expression stiffened. Are you alleging something specific or simply making vague claims? I'll be precise. Jasmine slid one sheet across the table. The camera captured the heading. Internal Communication Trump Organization Staff, April 2018. This is a statement from a senior aide who worked closely with you and your father, Jasmine explained. They recounted discussions about foreign business dealings during private family dinners, unrelated to policy, centered entirely on personal benefit. That's absurd, Ivanka snapped. You're treating that as proof of wrongdoing. I haven't claimed it's illegal, Jasmine said. But it raises concerns of integrity. In public service, family business cannot mix with national business, Colin asked. Is this a first-hand report? Yes, and there are more. Jasmine tapped the folder. The pattern repeats. Off-record meetings, travel funded through alternate channels, personal connections leveraged to bypass official processes. Ivanka leaned forward. So, you collect complaints from disgruntled former employees and present them as fact. That's unfair. Jasmine remained composed. These are sworn statements. When multiple people report the same conduct, it moves beyond rumor. The audience murmured again. That subtle ripple of unease returning. Colin raised a hand for calm, though his expression revealed he grasped the moment's gravity. Jasmine retrieved the page. That was only context. The larger concern is what these statements reveal and how extensive those blurred boundaries were. Ivanka's jaw tightened. If you have real evidence, present it. Stop evading. You'll see it soon, Jasmine said. But consider this. When public trust is on the line, should personal relationships ever shape official choices? Certainly not, Ivanka said promptly. But you're implying something extreme, and I will not allow you to distort my reputation on live television. Jasmine lifted her eyebrows slightly. I am not implying. I am ready to show. The tension between them became tangible. Their posture, their stillness, their locked gaze. Colin paused before speaking. We'll resume shortly, but viewers should note these claims are live and have not been independently verified. That's fair, Jasmine said. Yet every document is dated, sourced, and supported by testimony. Viewers can judge for themselves. Ivanka shook her head quietly, muttering under her breath. The microphone barely captured it. This is disgraceful. Jasmine heard, but didn't react. She knew responding held no value. The first impact had landed. The cracks had begun, and what followed would widen them into collapse. Colin's hand hovered over his notes as though they could steady him for what came next. He looked between Jasmine and Ivanka. All right, Congresswoman, you've provided context. Now, if ready, what exactly are you alleging tonight? Jasmine didn't hesitate. She opened the folder, sliding out several stapled packets marked with highlighted passages. The overhead lights glinted off the paper edges. Even without reading, the audience understood these weren't random headlines from the internet. I am alleging, Jasmine said steadily, that there were interactions between you, Miss Trump, and your father that crossed lines most would consider appropriate professionally and personally. And I possess communications showing those lines weren't blurred, they were removed. Ivanka leaned back slightly and laughed, a sound that didn't reach her eyes. This is outrageous. I should leave this set now. You could, Jasmine replied calmly. But you'd be walking away from an opportunity to clear your name if you can. Colin gestured toward Jasmine. Can you provide a concrete example from these documents? Yes, Jasmine said, holding a page. This is a copy of text messages from late 2019. They were recovered from a personal phone belonging to a former executive assistant at the Trump Organization. In these messages, she continued, the assistant describes organizing private overnight trips for you and your father. Trips not recorded on official schedules and unrelated to government duties. A gasp swept through the audience. Someone in the front row whispered, "Oh my God." Ivanka's smile vanished, replaced with a colder expression. You're citing second-hand remarks from someone with a clear grudge. That's your evidence? That's part, Jasmine corrected. The messages include hotel bookings under false names, private transportation not logged by the Secret Service, and arrangements bypassing normal procedures entirely. She paused just long enough for the audience to absorb it. And that's merely logistics. The personal tone in the messages shows these were not routine business trips. Colin cleared his throat. We must be careful. These are serious claims. I understand, Jasmine said. That's why I am only sharing evidence vetted by my legal team before bringing it here tonight. Ivanka's voice sharpened, trembling with controlled anger. So, you're implying something vile about me on national television. You don't see how dangerous that is? What's dangerous, Jasmine replied, is letting powerful people act unchecked out of fear of retaliation. If these claims were baseless, I would not risk my career presenting them. The host looked at Ivanka. Would you like to respond directly to these points? Ivanka faced the camera. This is a new low in modern politics. Personal attacks and fabricated scandals. No wonder Americans are losing faith in government when this is how officials spend time. She looked back at Jasmine. You will regret this. The room tightened with tension. The audience sat motionless, uncertain how to react. Jasmine didn't flinch. If the truth costs me politically, so be it. But if the truth harms you, that's not my problem. That's yours. Colin attempted to steer the discussion, but the moment dominated. This wasn't just politics. It was personal, and viewers could feel it. Jasmine collected the papers but left the folder open. A silent signal that more was ready if needed. That's enough for now, she said. But I'm prepared to go further if you continue denying what's in writing. Ivanka stared, unreadable. You've made yourself many enemies. Better enemies than compromised allies, Jasmine replied. The room paused. But this wasn't the peak. It was the ascent. The real conflict awaited. Colin sensed the atmosphere turn volatile. For a moment, he considered a commercial break, but none came. The cameras remained. The country was watching. Ivanka spoke again, louder, faster, stripped of her usual polished tone. This is the garbage people are exhausted by. You act self-righteous while dragging my name through the mud. Do Americans want this? They don't care about your folder full of lies. Jasmine didn't raise her voice. Then why are you so angry? The question hit harder than any accusation. The audience murmured. Ivanka's cheeks flushed. She pointed sharply at Jasmine. Don't twist this. You crossed a line. And I will not sit here. Then don't, Jasmine interrupted. But these aren't my words. They come from those who worked with you, witnessed events, and couldn't remain silent. Ivanka exhaled sharply, a laugh more disbelief than humor. Now we trust anonymous whistleblowers. Everyone knows stories are easy to fabricate for a book deal or talk show invite. Colin raised a hand. Let's Colin, Jasmine said, gaze fixed on Ivanka. This isn't about ratings. It's about whether the public can trust those influencing national decisions. If nothing is wrong, there's nothing to hide. Ivanka leaned forward, chair scraping. You're not questioning my relationship with my father like this. Say. Exactly why people despise Washington. You'll do anything for political points. That's interesting, Jasmine said calmly. Coming from someone who entered the West Wing without running for office. The audience reacted, some shocked, some supportive. A few clapped until Colin signaled for quiet. Congresswoman Crockett, he said. Do you worry about the consequences if you're wrong? No, Jasmine said. If mistaken, I'd apologize publicly, but I've reviewed this evidence for months. I've cross-checked it, and I am willing to stake my career on its accuracy. Ivanka leaned back, lips pressed. When this backfires, remember you targeted me not for truth, but for a chance to embarrass. If embarrassment arises from truth, Jasmine said softly, that's not on me. That's on those who lived it. The studio air felt heavy. Colin attempted to shift to policy, but neither woman relented. Ivanka's tone shifted, more desperate. Do you understand what this does to my family, my children? You're dragging them into matters irrelevant to them. Jasmine paused, answering deliberately. If adults' actions cannot endure scrutiny, perhaps those actions shouldn't have occurred. That line drew brief applause. Ivanka's eyes narrowed. This isn't over. I'm counting on it, Jasmine replied. Colin looked to camera. Ladies and gentlemen, this is live. Emotions are high. We'll take a brief break. When we return, we'll refocus on the broader issues tonight. As lights dimmed and the break began, the audience stayed still, whispering, eyes shifting between the women. Jasmine remained seated, the folder untouched. Ivanka turned away, speaking sharply to a producer. But if she expected the break to cool tensions, she was mistaken. When cameras returned, the atmosphere had changed. It wasn't merely tension, it was expectation. The audience had absorbed enough to form opinions, many leaning toward Jasmine. Colin's voice carried its familiar broadcaster calm. Welcome back to Nationline Live. Before the break, Congresswoman Crockett made serious claims regarding Ivanka Trump's past conduct. We'll continue discussion, but I remind viewers to remain respectful. A few polite nods came from the crowd, though Jasmine noticed their eyes. They were with her, or at least leaning that way. Colin turned to Ivanka. Miss Trump, before we continue, would you like to respond to public reaction? Our producers note social media activity is high. Ivanka gave a tight, practiced smile. Of course it is. That's what occurs when someone makes false allegations on live TV. People love drama, but facts matter more than online noise. Agreed, Jasmine said, which is why I brought them. The audience chuckled softly, recognizing the clean impact. Ivanka's expression darkened briefly before resetting. Colin faced Jasmine. Congresswoman, you've provided one example of blurred boundaries. Is there more you're prepared to reveal? There is, Jasmine said, and the public deserves to see how consistent these accounts are. This isn't one disgruntled employee. It's multiple people from various roles and periods telling nearly identical stories. She slid another page from her folder, holding it, without setting it down. This account comes from a former event coordinator involved in multiple private Trump family gatherings. They said they were instructed to bypass official logs for certain occasions. Events included overnight stays for only you and your father, Miss Trump, in locations far removed from any public duties. Ivanka's eyes narrowed. You're dangerously close to slander, Congresswoman. Jasmine's tone remained steady. I'm not approaching anything. I stand firmly on the foundation of verified testimony. The audience was now fully engaged. You could almost feel them taking mental notes and linking the details Jasmine had revealed. A few front-row attendees exchanged quiet glances, subtle signs that they were beginning to accept her points. Ivanka tried to redirect. You know what's unfortunate? We have an opportunity to discuss issues that truly matter to Americans. Jobs, inflation, public safety, yet you focus on personal attacks. Jasmine answered without hesitation. Character matters, especially when it shapes decisions affecting everyone. The applause that followed was louder and lasted longer. Even Colin seemed momentarily surprised. He cleared his throat. All right, I think we should recognize something. This conversation has clearly struck a chord. People here are reacting and producers report online engagement is extremely high. What a surprise, Ivanka said sarcastically. Trash always attracts attention. That's an unusual description for sworn testimony, Jasmine replied. The tension in the room was almost palpable, rising with the energy. Ivanka shifted in her seat, adjusting posture and glancing at the cameras as if appealing directly to viewers. But the tactic was losing impact. The quick laughs and polite claps that once supported her polished lines were now favoring Jasmine's calm, measured responses. Colin noticed as well. Congresswoman, before we proceed, can you confirm your legal team has verified these documents for authenticity? Yes, Jasmine said firmly. Every page, Ivanka scoffed under her breath, though the microphones captured it. Jasmine didn't react. She remained focused on Colin. People can attempt to discredit me, insult me, but they cannot erase evidence. It exists and will remain. That statement drew the strongest applause yet. Not overwhelming, but decisive. Jasmine held the room, and Ivanka's expression revealed she knew it. Yet winning the audience was only part of the task. Jasmine needed the entire country to witness what was unfolding. Colin glanced toward the control booth for guidance, but none came. The debate had shifted beyond the standard format into something raw and compelling. All right, he began, attempting to regain control. We're going to transition to our final policy segment. No, Ivanka interjected sharply. We're not moving forward until we confront this directly. Jasmine has spent nearly an hour spreading false claims about me and my family, and I won't allow her to leave unchallenged. Jasmine tilted her head slightly, composed. If they were false, you wouldn't be this upset.